Greetings from Tbilisi, Georgia, and welcome to our second Nordic Talk, brought to you by Caucasian Journal. I'm Alexander Kaffka, Editor-in-Chief of Caucasian Journal, and I wish to thank the Nordic Council of Ministers for supporting our event. This is our first event to involve Armenia, and I'm especially pleased to introduce our Armenian partner, Director of American University of Armenia's Acopian Center for the Environment, Alen Amirkhanian.
Alen didn't join yet because I think he has some connection issues.
No problem. Harut, maybe you also introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you for this event and opportunity. I look forward to this discussion. And yes, I'm Harutyun Alpetyan. I'm with American University of Armenia, Acopian Center for the Environment. I'm leading the efforts in waste management and circular economy research and other interventions and programs and projects. Alen has joined, just joined. And he will talk about center more, right? And here's Ripsime Makarchan.
Nice to meet you all. I am Ripsime Makarchan. I'm currently assistant professor at AUA, and also I am the head of the Eco Waste NGO.
There is no need to talk much about the importance of the problem of waste management. You don't need to be an expert to see from your everyday life that the problems of waste management are not dealt extremely well. In this Nordic Talk, we have both simple people, including myself, and experts attending it. And by the way, that's why we have two moderators, myself representing the simple people, and Alen, who is representing the experts. Let me perhaps start with a general question. What is being currently done in Armenia and Georgia in the field of waste management programs in our countries, and the role of the Nordic countries' assistance in this field? And of course, opinions about the efficiency of such assistance are very important to find how to make the Nordic assistance programs in waste management more and more efficient and useful for our countries.
Overall, we have we have only the collection of waste, municipal waste in the country. Sorting is piloted in a couple of cities with not very big success. Recently, we had introduced partial sorting at source in the capital, in Yerevan, partial in a couple of districts. There's no data collection going on, which is a major problem in waste sector, and we're not following up actually the generation and recycling rates. And as you know, it's very typical for our country to have recycling, but in a shadow, and the major part of recyclables are collected from municipal dumps by scavengers. We are planning a project to pilot waste source separation in one city, a program financed by Swedish International Development Agency, SIDA. And this is about the Nordic interventions in the country. Plus, we'll be assisting the government of Armenia to develop legislation on extended producer responsibility, which we should deliver by 2024 with Swedish support.
I know I'm a moderator and I shouldn't jump in, but just one thing to add, there's also growing interest in biological waste and what to do with biological waste. This is coming from the food security perspective and somewhat from the energy security perspective. Mariam, Kimerite.
Hello, everybody. It's great pleasure and honor to attend Nordic Talks. I'm representing a civil society organization from Georgia, Georgian Society of Nature Explorers Office. We are a think tank organization and long-standing partner of Swedish government, Swedish International Development Cooperation, back from 2010. Actually, the Swedish government is supporting Georgian shift to European waste management standards establishment in the country in all levels. It covers civil society organization. My colleague Makat Arepeli will tell details about their involvement. She's from Greens Movement of Georgia. We are working both organizations with Swedish government from 2010, and the Swedish government is using approach to tackle the challenges, not only with civil society organization, but with governmental organization, and to blend money with financial institutions to make the whole system working. So we will talk, I will talk briefly what my organization is doing. We have a EU action plan. So our government, we are ahead with like what Mr. Harutyun Alpetyan has presented. We have already EU standards waste management code, and several legislative like subsidiary legislation have been developed, and one of the main donor for this was the Swedish government as well. And EPR extended producers' responsibility has been already enforced in Georgia, as we are closely monitored with the international society and European Union. We have our action plan to be in compliance with the EU respective directives on waste. So my organization particularly currently is working on waste management and circular economy issues. I want to highlight a very important topic which we are working now. This is regional waste management practice replication from Swedish experience. We have a very experienced international group from Sweden who is helping us to one of our region, and we have developed already regional waste management plan, and it is very important. We are fully like in like following 10 success like steps of developing roadmap of to regional waste management practice, as with again with CIDA support there is like a lot of like activities are going in establishment of EU standard landfill, and mainly they are regional. So that's why we decided that in addition to municipal waste management plan preparations, which again CIDA was supporting it broadly, we have prepared for 22 municipalities municipal waste management plan according to EU standards, but we are now we have shifted to regional waste management practice in Kakheti region, and we have great success, cooperation of 8 municipalities, etc. Another very important topic on which CIDA is very active here is circular economy program, and with our like partners from Greens Movement, we are working quite actively as well on public awareness on circular economy, and we are as on governmental level, on community level, and we have target groups, so which is comprised from central government, regional government, municipal government, Parliament of Georgia, international financial financial institutions, business sectors, SMEs, universities, and academia. We have already conducted 8 international conferences on circular economy, and the government of Georgia, particularly to support SIDA-funded project for circular economy, created intergovernmental board to support transition to circularity in Georgia. Currently, as a first and quite important step of mapping of Georgian economy, circularity of Georgian economy have been finalized. We will launch this event in October, and recommendations to circular economy roadmap and strategy have been already developed. Next step will be elaboration of circular economy strategy and roadmap, which is with ownership of government, of course, which will be approved by Parliament and government of Georgia. Another very important step is to show the importance of circularity and circularity transition in the country as an in-kind contribution. Our organization, ORHIS, has closely been working with international financial institutions, particularly with EBRD Fund. We have and NEFCO, where Nordic anchoring is quite important. We have international team leader, former EBRD director and currently a member of advisory board of UN circular economy body, Mr. Dr. Dariusz Prasek. And with his lead and with the participation of national expert and intergovernmental coordination board, we have revealed 15 businesses, which is covering very important topics like agribusiness, construction waste, and other important elements. And we have developed already a business plan and discussing with NEFCO, discussion of NEFCO on its financing is very close. Like in these days, we're having a very important meeting. So this would not be happen without involvement of government of Sweden. And I want to pass special thanks to our long-standing partners, to government of Sweden, to the ambassador, to SIDA director, to our program officer, with their very important support and always well-established communication with them. We are managing to go forward with as a civil society organization, and we are supporting government to make the shift in waste management and circular economy, as well with community. So it is. I know that time is quite restricted. Greens Movement of Georgia is working very actively since 2010 on waste management topics with the Swedish government. And I think that Ms. Maka Tereteli could add a few important outcomes of what we have done with our partnership and collaboration through these 12 years. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Mariam. The main idea of this event is to formulate things which could possibly be improved. So please do not hesitate to talk about drawbacks, about things which could be done better, about the practical efficiency of things, because the Nordic countries are basically spending their taxpayers' money for those assistance programs.
So from our experience, assistance of Nordic countries, I can talk only about Sweden. I cannot advise them in which field to improve, but I think that we have very, very broad support from Swedish government to make a shift better waste management practice. And they are, as I have told to you, they are working with all layers through like civil society organizations, with governmental organizations, and with private sector. And I described this. So I think that in general, so as we are working like with our colleagues from Greens movement, with Swedish support, we through these years we have conducted probably 10,000 community meetings. And I cannot complain that whatever we were asking them, it was not understood by them. But in general, so my like advice would be like to be quite insisting with government to like follow respective EU directives and to enforce and to make in practice a lot of like commitments taken under EU association agreement. This would be like my suggestion to Swedish government. Although they are doing their best, so they are not targeting only civil society organization or only like community level, and their efforts in to tackle challenges of waste management in Georgia is quite impressive.
I see that Harutyun has raised her hand.
Yes, hello. Hello, everybody. Interesting idea was brought up by our Swedish colleagues from the Lund University last year about the MBA Solutions course. And I was very happy to see that it was an interesting academic effort to improve knowledge and exchange in between our countries and to bring Swedish experience in waste management and MBA solutions to the larger communities. I'm one of the alumni of this program, and I would recommend everybody who is working with youth organizations, civil society, government, people who are responsible for waste management, to recommend this course for them. So the second example I would like to mention is similar to Mariam's experience. I would say that it is an interesting project that we have started back in 2014 with support of European Union, and it was called Resource Efficiency and Cleaner Production project, and now it is called EU for Environment, and it's one of the components of EU for Environment. We are working with many different companies. Interesting example I wanted to bring your attention to is about our fish producing companies, and one of the solutions that we have for them to use the remainders of their production and to start designing a new product like a fish food, which is very expensive and is exclusively brought to Armenia from abroad. So this is an attempt also to make an innovative practice working as an additional business solution for this producer. Soon some of the business cases, brief business cases, will be published on our recp.am website, and some of the stories are already published. Another thing that we are doing in collaboration with municipalities is our EU-funded project on BSB Black Sea Cooperation 1138 called project, anti-littering project. And there, with municipalities of Dirijan and Vanadzor, we have managed to promote the separate waste management practices, and we have provided the municipalities with the plastic bins collection points, and they are now managing themselves the plastic collection in those both cities. I was very happy to see that citizens started to use this and separate plastic, and this plastic is being collected by the municipality, and municipality has also a shredder that is managing, like shredding the plastic that they get, and they can sell the plastic or whatever, do things with it. The important thing is we're trying to clean up the city in a sustainable manner, and it is working. So if you go to Dilijan or Vanadzor, you will see our plastic collection bins standing there, and this is a very good practice. I would like to underline that for us it is also very important to get the clear understanding from all the ministries, all the agencies that are responsible, that this is all being done in assistance. The government has to improve the regulation and make it a mandatory thing to enshrine waste management, sustainable waste management principles. It has to be formulated in a very strict law, and this law has to work. We have legislation, but legislation is just a piece of paper until you make it work with, I don't know, whether it is penalties or whether it is obligations of producers, it's responsibility of producers and customers. About the Nordic experience, I can only say that I studied in Scandinavia, in Sweden, and I saw this throughout my life cycle, let's say, so how the waste management is working. And I believe that our countries can achieve this if we really want this. But we need to be collaborative in this effort. So I would like to also thank you, Mr. Kaffka, for inviting us and steering this discussion for us.
Thank you very much, Nune. Let us take two more comments from two more NGOs who raised hands.
Yes, hello. My name is Tatyana Remneva. I'm representative of a small independent NGO, Parki Arminda. Parki Arminda in Georgian means I don't want a plastic bag. And for like 2 last years, we were actively involved in waste management issues and sorting, like separate waste collection on the community level. We collect by ourselves, and also last year we participated in a pilot project together with Acceleration Lab of UNDP in introducing a municipal waste, separate waste collection for plastic bottles in Tbilisi and Batumi. And thank you for the previous speakers to share the great success stories, but I want to kind of add a little salt and talk about the problems that we see through our hands-on experience. So people are actually quite concerned and quite ready to become more responsible with their waste, but the thing they're lacking is the lack of infrastructure. So here where I see personally kind of the perspective to grow and maybe assistance from Nordic partners more is the development of infrastructure, and which is more like one of the most essential points is training of the staff of the municipal services and all the waste management staff who is involved in the collection, basically from the street, right? From like the street sweepers till the top management of waste management companies in the country. Through our work during the pilot project with UNDP, we worked with municipal operators in Tbilisi and Batumi, and like on all levels, we saw lack of knowledge about circular practices, about the importance of separate waste collection.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like to continue. So what I have mentioned, Mariam Kimberidze from our partner organization, from Orkis. So just I want to add a few words. So to say that the public awareness is really very raised in Georgia. We are working since 2010 with support of the Swedish government, SIDA, together on waste management issues, and it's obvious. And we have targeted about 1 million people, and I can say that it's really tangible. So what I want to say, so for international days, for World Cleanup Days, for Earth Days, and so we have environmental calendars for Environment Day, World Water Day. So we can see in cleanup action, so many people are involved there, starting from the government, from regional governments, government bodies, civil society organizations. So they're very much involved, and community communities also. Also, we have conducted, as Maria mentioned, so thousands of meetings in the region, and municipalities with community groups and NGOs and the self-government bodies. I will say that this the awareness is really raised, and there is a demand from population to start sorting and separation of waste and to start recycling. This COVID pandemic also impeded the process itself a little bit. So for starting the large scale sorting and the separation system in Georgia. Besides that, it should be mentioned for the public awareness rising, so that we have invented that the contest clean region. So you cannot imagine how many people, the whole country is participating in it. We have conducted for the 6th time this year, and we are preparing for the 7th one. So there are 9 nominations in this competition. So this is clean region, clean municipality, clean village, clean city, clean borough, a beautiful street, beautiful balcony, clean yard of the organization, and of course blue stream. So blue stream means this is the campaign for cleaning up the riverbeds from plastic. It's also very important. And so starting from the state representatives to the civil society organizations, so everybody are involved there, just individuals also. So I want to say that the Swedish support and the Nordic support is very impressive, because we have developed waste management plan, a waste management report for the first time, apart from the government, just based on the data of the municipalities in the region. So we have started a collaboration with, as I have mentioned, with many business sector organizations, and of course, so also the free plastic zones we established, envisaged to establish free plastic zones in the country, mostly in touristic areas. So what I want to mention that the support is tangible, impressive, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Maga. Short comment from Irina Amirkhanian, maybe?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I would like to add a little bit to the points that colleagues from Armenia have mentioned. There are actually also 8 settlements that are consolidated into 2 communities in Armenia that are fully implementing waste sorting at source. We also have a program that is implemented with the support of the Japanese government, where Armavir city within this year is going to fully start waste sorting in the city. There are also over 40 recycling facilities in Armenia that not necessarily publish all the data, how much they recycle, but there is a lot of progress within the last few years. Our organization itself, we work with over 600 all-level organizations, starting from the ministries up to all educational institutions, where waste is also being separated at source and is directly directed towards recycling facilities across the country. There are also in Armenia several upcycling centers that produce different types of products, including recycled paper and other materials that they recycle in the facilities that are built. We also have green councils in some communities that are helping the local self-government bodies to make green decisions, and also helping them to integrate green solutions into their strategic development plans. So there is a lot of work that is being done across Armenia. We also have quite a lot of data that is being collected throughout all the work that our organization in partnership with different entities is doing, which is also being used to further promote circular economy in Armenia, and also like partnership with several producers that are largest producers of mainly plastic waste, in order to help the country become more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irina. I suggest that we move to the next question. I would like to ask primarily our Nordic participants to share briefly, of course, about the Nordic waste management achievements. And especially, I want to ask your opinions about what is applicable for the other countries and what is not. Maybe Professor Lindqvist.
Yeah, it seems like my Norwegian colleagues want to wait a little bit, so I try to start. I apologize for the quality of my photos and so on. I'm actually sitting here in Tbilisi, and my conditions for making this is not the very best, and I hope my connection won't go down. If something is very expensive, then you have to use your money well. And you have to look for all available sources. And I think Georgia has to be very clever in the coming even decades, because you have to use your own resources in the best way. You have to use resources from other countries, hopefully a lot from the EU in the coming years, but you have to use it well. It's not that much that you can use it in any way. So really try to spend time on finding what is the best ways for you to do it. We, the Swedes, and I suppose the Norwegians, we have a tendency sometimes to propose what we did ourselves. And we are kind of influenced by our experiences. And we may try, I hope we are trying, all of us, but sometimes I doubt, to understand the conditions of the countries where we are working. But it's not easy. So it's this dialogue between you and us where we can do really good things. So very quickly, what can you learn from us? Well, you can learn that we try to get rid of landfills, and we have done it very successfully, but at a high cost. We have introduced incineration. Incineration in a country like Sweden works very well, I would say. One of the reasons is that we have central heating, more or less everywhere, so we can use the heat. If you can't use the heat, I would say forget about incineration. The efficiency of making power is too low, and the costs are still, for us, quite high. And when you build a lot, which we did in Sweden, we're happy that our Norwegian friends are sending waste to us so that we can fill our incinerators, because the economy goes down if you're not filling them. So if anyone proposes incineration, think many times. One of the other, maybe more important things is about how to deal with the recyclables in the household waste. That is what you are standing in front of now. We worked with this when I started in the area. It was fairly new in the 1980s. And we quickly realized that we will not get very good systems running if we couldn't find new sources of financing. So that's when we introduced the extended producer responsibility to get the financing which doesn't come in through municipal taxes. Now, Georgia, I know, and I heard Armenia is also planning to work with this. You have to put up good rules and then work with industry. It will be too difficult for all the municipalities in this country. I think that I said a few things here, and I will leave it this for a moment, but I'll be happy to come back and take other questions, comments later, but hand it maybe over to my Norwegian colleagues. So.
Okay, thank you. So I'm working in the Norwegian Waste Industry Association. For the Norwegian system, it is a very good system. Like we have municipal legislation with a municipal responsibility for household waste, which is kind of the basic of the system. And that means that in every municipality, you need to have a good collection system, a good and responsible treatment system. So on the system level, it's quite good. And also, of course, in the business sector, there are also legislation which sort of make up a good basic for the whole waste management system and also the industry. So having said that, I think one of the lessons learned, looking at it from a sort of overall national perspective, is that we have had the extended producer responsibility since the middle of the 90s. And that has meant a lot when it comes to collection of especially packaging, but also electric and electronic waste, and of course, a whole lot of other waste streams like tires, cars, etc. So it has been really important. And as Thomas said, it's because of the funding of the system, but also how we separate the waste in the household. That is very much depending on the EPR, especially for packaging. At the same time, there has been, from the beginning of when the EPR was introduced, there has been a conflict of interest between the producers and DPR actors and the municipalities, because they are discussing what kind of cost should be distributed to through the municipalities and what we are paying as inhabitants and what should be covered by the EPR system. But having said that, I think that has been a major sort of part of the system in terms of how much we are collecting and how much we are recycling, especially for all the EPR waste streams. So what I think could be a lesson learned is that when you have sort of the opportunity of starting the EPR systems, if there are ways of establishing collaboration, sort of how to meet, how to discuss, what to learn from each other, how to have interactions that involves what are the waste streams, the knowledge, the data sharing, how the recycling opportunities, everything that involves the system, and not in particularly the costs and the funding part of this. Because I think when you share knowledge, when you share that you actually have the same objective, whether you come from the national government, from the municipalities, from business sector, or from especially the EPR companies, you have the same objectives when it comes to recycling targets, collection targets, but there will be, I think it's unavoidable to discuss the question of who is covering which costs. So to establish meeting places to discuss what you actually have in common and how you can learn from each other. So, and in particularly, I think the question of designing of packaging, designing of products, how can the designers learn from the waste industry, from those who are actually doing the collection and recycling of the waste? Because the key factor is that we are designing the products, we are designing the packaging to make it sort of feasible for recycling. And I think also one interesting thing at the moment that could be a lesson learned from the Scandinavian countries is the harmonized labeling system. The interesting thing about this labeling system is that it covers both the waste sector. It has been introduced more and more on waste bins and the recycling stations, etc., but also used by the producers. So like a symbol on the packaging, there is a color code. And this is now also a discussion in the EU, as I think you are aware of. And they are also looking, what if this Scandinavian system could also be the basis for a European system? It's not yet decided in the European Union, but it will be. And then you have the possibility to be at an early, to introduce this from the beginning at an early stage. And lastly, I think the question of how much you are actually able to recycle, that's a lesson learned from Norway, because we have been collecting waste for a long time. We have been doing it in a very systematic and transparent and all this, but the recycling, that's something else. Because in Norway, we established a collection system very early, but at the same time, we should have focused more on the real recycling, not only like we are collecting and we are using it for something good, but we want to have closed loops. We want to have more to use the recycled materials like in the building construction sector, for instance. So yeah, so I think that's at least some of our experiences.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Maybe Sigrun wants to add something from Norwegian standpoint.
Hello, thank you. Well, I think that Nancy summarized very well. And just to add something about the EPR, I think it's a great motivation for the producers when they know that they need to kind of take it back to the cycle and it will be their cost. It's a great motivation for them to design it in a way that it's easier to recycle. Like for instance, for plastics, we have these sandwich solutions with different kind of plastics put together, and it's practically impossible to recycle it because of that. Another thing that I want to add is the need of information to the audience or to the public, for people to be motivated to source sort. It's very important to share information and to share correct information, because if the population are informed that they should sort it in a certain way, and then it will be recycled, and then afterwards it gets known to them that it wasn't really recycled after all, and that's very demotivating.
Thank you very much. I saw raised hands from Nicholas Shurgaya.
I represent Georgia Cleaners Guild. Sadagi is shorter name. It means a working day. We are a new organization, just 15 months old, and it's great to learn from you experts. We are simple people, as Alexander has put it. People from different professions. I'm a financier, banker for 30 years, but there are people of different professions with us: musicians, writers, marketing professionals, engineers. And this is a new kind of organization, I think, for Georgia, in a way that, and apologies if I don't know something about others, but I know some of the other good NGOs. But why we are different is that we are trying to solve the problem by the people. So Thomas mentioned that we do not have many resources, and this is our own resources that we are putting in. So we are funding this organization ourselves. And so this Sadagi is primarily funded by its members. It's a donations-based organization, and we have space for everybody. So it's starting from 1 lari, 10 lari, the minimum annual contribution, and 10,000 for patrons, kind of those who can afford it or more. And we want to achieve the final goal to have Georgia a clean country. And we see it as kind of 3 steps, and 2 of these we are now addressing now. And 1 more, recycling, is somewhat later for us. We believe that firstly, we want to learn not to litter. And if you don't stop littering the streets and forests and valleys and rivers, you will never clean it up, because the effort of cleaning up is really so much weaker than the ability to just not litter. And the second one is to clean up what we can. And these cleanups are done by us, the members, but also by many volunteers and local communities, schools, or just local people. We try to, everywhere we go, we connect to the local people and try to do things with them so that they don't continue not littering. Our earlier experiences show that we cleaned up something and then it got littered again. So our key direction is really to unite people in cleaning up our own country, bring the awareness that this is our own. Uniting people is important because we all as a society, as individuals, as businesses, and all other stakeholders have to engage. And where I come now to Thomas's comments, I think when the politicians see that there is a real popular demand for this, then they will act more. So that's their chance to cause politicians to enforce the legislation which already has been taken, or create new legislation. Eventually, I believe, we believe as Sadagi that we, the society, have to solve our own problems. Of course, any help is really appreciated. So I can see that Nordic countries are so active and helping Georgia in this. So thank you for that, really. And although we have not had a chance to collaborate earlier, I believe that we will come together at some point. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. I saw the raised hands of Georgi Salukwadze and Thomas Lindquist.
I just wanted to add a little bit to what my Norwegian colleague said. One of the questions I think Nancy brought up was the question about what do we do, what we collect in an EPR system. Are we really recycling this? And I think that is a real problem for Norway and Sweden and many of the EU countries. We are collecting a lot and we are not able to recycle it to a high quality so we can use it well. But I think we need to kind of leave the individuals, the citizens, out of that. That is a problem that has to be solved in a different way so that the citizens get an easy message. Collect packaging, and then we will take care of it. So think about what you should do with the products afterwards, but don't make it complicated for the citizens. The other was the question about biogas, which came up. It was when we really decided to separate food waste from the other waste. And food waste contains nutrients and it contains energy. Now, what you should do with it is maybe also an economic question, because the biogas is a rather expensive thing to do, but we still have composting and we can do composting in various ways. And that doesn't have to be very expensive. Now we should just make them do it in a as good as possible way. And we should also maybe try to think about, would it be possible to separate it? There are so many advantages if you separate food waste from the other household waste. In a warm country, how often do you have to collect the waste? Well, the food waste very often, the other waste less often. So you can optimize the system a lot if you are separating this, and you can get valuable material from it. So I think it was very important that we got this into the discussion also. So
thank you very much, Thomas. Let's take the comment from George Salukvadze, perhaps.
So nice to meet you all, guys. So the main problem in this talk, I see that we don't have the recycle in the factory or whatever you call it. So, okay, we will pick all this garbage up, we will do, and where to take them. So this is the huge issue, a huge problem in Georgia is, of course, the waste itself on the resorts, on the rivers, on the beaches, in the woods, and everywhere. It's a horrible picture. So it was really interesting for me. I have heard a lot of interesting things from the Georgian people talking previously, but I don't see any policy from the government. I don't see they do anything in terms of it. I don't see that the community, the population are bothered from this problem. And personally, I represent the Georgian Mountain Business Association. So, and now we started like waste awareness, like talk to businesses, how they need to manage their waste. And we really need to intensify talking about this problem, and then probably the government will do anything, at least, because yeah, it's really terrifying what's currently happening in Georgia. It's not normal. First of all, the main thing is to raise awareness in population, which needs the informational campaigns. We need to, non-government organizations need to work more to raise awareness around this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George. But in fact, our next questions would be completely devoted to the role of grassroots organizations and other non-governmental organizations.
In the Armenian case that I am aware of, there are commitments on the part of the government to make changes, because Armenia also has an agreement with the EU, the SEPA agreement, which aligns in many ways Armenia's legislation, specifically on waste managers as well, with EU legislation. And we heard a lot of examples of different initiatives around the country, lots of grassroots initiatives, mostly donor-funded initiatives, with the exception of one that we haven't heard from yet, Acopian. In some ways, these small donor-driven initiatives do build institutions and capacity. On the other hand, they also preempt the ability to create institutions, right? Because everything always goes to the grassroots level. And so I guess the question is, and the Nordic colleagues also mentioned, and if I heard Thomas correctly, is saying this overemphasis on the individual may not get you institutions built, right? So you need to also focus on building institutions. But at the same time, government can learn a lot from grassroots initiatives, right? So if I could put my colleague, Narine Avetyan, who I hope she's still with us, on the spot and ask, I know that the Armenian government is doing lots of things on legislative improvements in waste management, but in your years of working with in this sector, have you learned anything from grassroots initiatives? Have you engaged with civil society?
Yes, of course. Just I can say, for example, just for the development of some regulations, development of the strategy, and development of the draft laws, commitment to the waste management laws. And of course, always we discuss with our colleagues from the civil society, and of course we use the recommendations which we get from them. And even we have developed many regulations with our colleagues from civil societies and NGOs and other academic institutions. We have many examples for that, and which is very useful for the development of the policy of waste management.
But let me bring in Harutyun, who started an NGO and a very grassroots initiative in Armenia. In Yerevan, in a matter of a year or two, they have 20, 30,000 followers that they voluntarily organize grassroots level source separation of waste. And so very interesting initiative. No one believes this can happen in Armenia, but she managed to organize it. And yet it's not institutionalized, right? So Harutyun, tell us about your example and how this could fold into a bigger institutional reform that the country needs, change that the country needs.
Okay, thank you, Alen. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I just will run very quickly about our experience and what I think what we can do. So we have started finding little ambassadors in the communities and who wish to that recycling become true in Armenia. And we started to work with them. We started to collect recycling materials on the street. When everybody was rushing to the work, they were like busy enough, but we were stopping them, speaking with them about the recycling importance, sorting importance, and calling them to join us. So we were doing this each weekend on the street in different parts of the city and in the different part of the regions of Armenia. So in the beginning, we were like 5, and then we became 10. Then in the end, we were like more than 2,000. So people just learned by doing. They were joining us, they were giving us, bringing the waste, and they were sorting with us. And then we were calling the factories which exist in Armenia to come and collect recycling materials from the street. And we were organizing also trips to the to see which kind of facility do they have, and we were recording them and putting on social media. So me personally going to the factory and recording what they do and speaking simultaneously with the workers and telling that this is true, because we had a problem of trust. Nobody was believed that in Armenia there is possible to recycle, but it was possible. There was no bridge between society and those factories. Those factories were taking all recycling materials from the landfills. They were buying from there because there were people who were like sorting them from the trash and selling those to the factory. So we created bridge between society and between those factories, and that's why it succeed. And we have built the trust. People believe that if they are giving to us the sorted recycling materials, that is going to the factory. And after that, what we have done, we have make some kind of surveys, and we collected where those people, ambassadors, are living. And when municipality is starting to waste management's first step in Yerevan, we give them all addresses, and they have put it recycling bins on those places where there are more concentration of sorting of the families who is sorting. Me personally think that all the staff who is working with waste, they should be trained all the time. They should learn what they do and why they do. Currently, I think there are many employees, they even do not recycle at home, do not sort at home. So they do not know why they do this. So this is a problem which I want to mention. Labeling is also very important, because sometimes people doesn't know what to throw to the recycling bin, what not to throw, because there is no mention, is it recyclable in Armenia or no, because it's the completely different stuff. And I just want to mention that we have seen in our experience that teaching from the school is very important, as we have seen that kids can have influence in their parents.
Please, Mariam Kimeridze.
Thank you, Alen. Georgia, listening to all this, first of all, many thanks to Caucasus Journal and to Mr. Alexander Kaffka for organizing this. This is excellent platform for the region to share our experience. What about Georgia? I cannot agree with our Georgian colleagues that nothing has been done by government. I'm not advocating the government, but starting from 2010, still we had our other government. President of Georgia was leading cleanup actions, and all these campaigns broadly with involvement of all regions, all municipalities, and more than 1 million people were taking part in campaigns. Then after changing the government with the slogan, "This is the way to Europe," our former prime minister was leading this. Still, we are having very active collaboration with government with this extended producers responsibility, like enforcement. Government has, I think, that more than 100 meetings, one-to-one meetings and big meetings with business sector to make things happen. So we are very happy with we are not politicians, we are civil society organizations that, and all the time we are, what is our success story, that we are persons to whom they have trust. You should have knowledge, you should be trusted person, you can share experience, your knowledge experience to local population, to community, how Greece movement was doing through many years, how Orchis was doing not only with community level, municipality level, central governmental level, intergovernmental coordination level, and international donor coordination level. We are broadly cooperating with UNEC, UNIDO, EU, other projects. So this is still a lot of things to be done, but we should not diminish what has been done. To have this. Yes, in 2010 we had problems, but as Maka has mentioned, awareness is raised. We need practical things to put in place. Again, Swedish anchoring in capacity building of cleaning services, of municipal services, is very important, and they are doing through many years. They are funding with grant blending our landfills. I believe it's same as in Armenia, because I am following this news, what is happening in Armenia, because SIDA is in waste management sector for many years. So this is how we use efficiently all this funding, and how we pass our knowledge to broader community. And Caucasus Journal and Initiative is a very, very good platform for cooperation in the region.
Thank you very much. I think, what is emerging here also, Mariam and Georgi and Nicholas, what is emerging is, and this is also what's happening in Armenia, lots of stuff happening at the high level, at the some of it could be really also a lot of all over the country with thousands of people involved, but there's something missing in the communication of all this, the impact and the momentum that is taking place. So I think there is something here to take away, that, all of these initiatives, some of which are grassroots, some of which are donor funded, and they promote civil society engagement, and some of which are at a higher level academic research, as well as, policy level work. Lots of stuff, different stuff is happening. It's often very difficult to communicate this change. Politicians don't want to talk about it, most likely, because change isn't happening fast enough. I think civil society also has to work towards the role of civil society in innovation is absolutely essential. because the kinds of stuff civil society and grassroots organizations can experiment with, governments most likely will never be able to experiment or try or kind of create that laboratory of new ideas and new solutions. On the other hand, I don't think, and my Nordic colleagues would correct me, any of the Nordic countries had grassroots initiatives developing their waste management system. It was mostly a government institutional reform or change or introductions. So any insights, pearls of wisdom for us?
I have no wisdom to offer, but my observation that I left Georgia in 2002 and lived abroad for until just 2 years ago I returned. So there has been many positive changes, but surely that is way not enough, and much remains on paper. So yes, government is engaged. I see at various levels there have been good initiatives, but I believe in bottoms up in many ways. God give us very good governments everywhere, but nothing will happen if people do not want to cause it. So I will concentrate on people and making it ourselves as much as we can.
Thank you, Nicholas. Nancy? Yeah.
Looking back on the sort of starting point of this, at least the way our waste management system is today, started in the 90s. And I think there were sort of two main factors in the development at that time. So one of them was definitely the NGO sector. So it was youth organization, environmental NGOs, sort of pushing forward that we cannot continue just to throw away garbage and to throw away them in the landfills. So it was definitely sort of pushing energy from the NGO sector. And then it was we have a sort of, when we tell this story in Norway, there was one politician. His name was Torbjørn Berntsen. He came from the Labour Party, and he's sort of the founding father of actually, in principle, a lot of the things we still do. The origin was this politician. He was the Minister for Environment at that time, and he said to the industry that if you don't do anything, I will sort of enforce it upon you. And that was the starting of the EPR system, and that was also the start of mandatory sorting for a lot of fractions at municipal level. So I think actually you need the sort of interaction between the NGO sector and the politicians. I think that's very important. And I also think to engage the journalists, the media, to sort of focus on what are we doing today that is actually not acceptable. So this NGO sector, the civil society, the media, the politicians. So yeah.
Thank you. That's very interesting.
Yeah, if I may just quickly comment, I think this is a great point. I mean, this is a really important component with media interventions. I think especially like looking forward to this establishment of EPR system, it will be very important to work a lot with media and who is probably the main and strongest channel to public awareness.
Thomas, in terms of the Swedish experience in civil society, any insights there, any experience you can share with us?
Very little may happen if you don't have a civil society which is interested, and people are busy, so it is the organizations that have to be there. And they played a very big role, and in many cases, they're connected to waste. When it comes to plastic bottles and so on, we have a deposit refund system. We wouldn't have had that if people and with people, I mean the NGO, started to send a lot of bottles to our minister, and been talking about this all the time and etc. So yeah, we need pressure.
You gave us a great idea of how to mobilize action, to start sending boxes of plastic bottles to the ministry. Yeah.
The fact was every 50% of the post to the minister for a period was cans and bottles. And they had to be registered and etc.
All right, Alexander, should we wrap this up?
Well, I wish to thank everybody for attending. And I think we should congratulate everybody and ourselves and you, Alen, with this Nordic Talk, which seems to be quite successful. And we are right on time, and we have touched all those important problems. And by the way, speaking about the media, of course, everybody is welcome to use our platform, Caucasian Journal, not only in the Caucasus, by the way, but also internationally, because we often publish interviews with Western and especially Nordic experts. So feel free to use our platform for sharing your views, ideas, proposals, criticisms. We would be happy to assist in this very noble case of making our region cleaner. Again, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors.
Thank you very much, Alexander, for also leading all of this initiative, organizing it. Bye-bye, everyone.